Welcome back to the Beyond the Bestseller podcast. I'm your host, Kelly Schuknecht, and today's guest is Sheena Yap Chan, author of Bridging the Confidence Gap. I got distracted by, I was like, oh, look, the book is right there. I don't even have to look at my notes. I can just see it right there on your screen. Bridging the Confidence Gap, How Empowered Women Change the World. Welcome, Sheena.
Hey Kelly, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here today to just chat. So, just looking forward to this conversation.
Great. Well, so let's start off with talking about bridging the confidence gap and what led you to write this book.
Yeah, well, first off, I do have my first book with Wiley that I wrote. It's called The Tao of Self-Confidence. It's about the importance of working through your traumas to show up as your best self, especially in our
Nice.
culture. We don't talk about what goes on in our lives. We hide everything, and that gets a lot of repressed feelings, all this built up trauma that we don't talk about, and then it doesn't help us move forward. And so when that book came out, it hit the Wall Street Journal bestseller list,
Wow.
and thank you, and and Wiley asked me if I wanted to write a second book. And in all honesty, I didn't think I had another book written in me. I literally just finished the first book. I had to write the first book in less than 3 months. So yeah,
Wow.
and I've no like I didn't attend any writing workshop or anything. When I came to Canada from the Philippines, I had to learn English because I couldn't speak English properly, and my sister always makes fun of my grammar. So when Wiley approached me asking to write a second book, I had to think, okay, like I really need to talk about issues, especially for women, because we just go through a lot of stuff, right? More than men for sure. And so I saw this report from the World Economic Forum that mentioned total gender parity would be achieved at the earliest in the year 2154.
Hmm.
So, yeah. And that's when I wrote the book, which was last summer. So now in 2025, it's actually delayed to the year 2158. So that's about 133 years from now. And I said,
Okay.
okay, this is why we need another book, because especially women's confidence, right? Women are more than capable. So much more capable. But really how they perceive themselves stops them from moving forward, right? It's a disconnect from the capability and the belief of that capability. And so I want
Yeah.
women to realize that when you bridge those two together, just imagine what you can achieve. And that book talks about that.
Yeah.
One of the things I talk about is imposter syndrome. We all go through it,
Yep.
myself included. The power of self promotion, because for so long women have been taught that it's tacky or not ladylike. And it doesn't have to be like in your face self promotion, right? Like, just even having my book like this, that's self promotion, right? There's so many different ways to do it in a way that it doesn't feel like it's uncomfortable, and at the same time, you're still doing something. So, this is what led to writing that book, because what the World Economic Forum mentioned, and I have no idea how they came up with this like
Right.
formula. I just know it was from the lockdowns. They said the 2020 lockdown set us back at least 5 or 6 generations, or five or six steps backwards, and so this is how that report came in, right? Because during the pandemic, more women had to quit their jobs, more women had to take care of the household, and take care of their kids, homeschool, like do everything, right? And it takes a toll on us, and it can get very exhausting. And if there's a two-person household and they had to pick one or the other to take care of the house, versus working remotely, then of course the woman would more likely, I'm not saying all, but more likely. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, so there's so much to dig into there. First
Yeah.
of all, when you said that year, whatever it was, 21 something, I was trying to do the math on that. Like, okay, so obviously I will no longer be here, but like, who would still be here? Like my
Yeah,
kids. I was trying to do
yeah.
that.
So it's 2158, so it's 133 years from now. So hopefully it doesn't get longer. But when we think about it, we're not going to see it. Our daughters won't see it. Our granddaughters won't see it. Our great granddaughters won't see it. We might be lucky if our great granddaughters will see it, right? So,
Yeah.
and it's scary to think that, right? And I feel like, unfortunately, I know this may not sound the best, but I feel like that's going to get delayed even more, right? With just current events, not just in North America, but worldwide. A couple weeks ago, I remember reading a story on X about an Afghan woman working a job in Afghanistan. And the current situation in Afghanistan, they're ruled by the Taliban. Women's basic human rights are literally stripped away from them. They can't show their faces, talk to people, they can't even sing in their own homes. And so here's a woman who's working a job in Afghanistan under the Taliban rule. She's not even allowed to take public transportation. She has to take private taxi every single day to go to her secret job. Because if the Taliban found out, of course, we don't know what the consequences are, but we know that it's not good, right? It could be very dire consequences. And so when I hear stories like that, it feels me as well, because I'm like, here's a woman whose condition is so bad, like it's bad, right? Like she's in a bad condition, but yet she's still showing up. She's still putting herself out there, and visibility is important, right? Because sometimes when we see one person doing it, it can change someone's trajectory, right? Like they see someone that maybe looks like me going out there, putting my foot out there, showing up. They realize what's possible for themselves. And for me, visibility and confidence go hand in hand. It's how we can, change the way we're viewed, dismantle negative stereotypes, break barriers, make history. And so, visibility doesn't always mean you have to put yourself like be on stages, but doing something like that, I think is so important, because I can only imagine what she goes through every single day as she takes a private taxi to work and back. Like, she has to really, like, it must be a lot of I'm just assuming. So, like the paranoia, right? Of like, oh my gosh. Or even the taxi driver, what if like he's in on it? Like we just don't know what that situation looks like. But the fact she's brave enough to do that, like, is just, proof that there's women out there still fighting. And when we all can do it together, just imagine what we could achieve.
Right. Well, and that story is so, that story is, it's like so obvious, the oppression there and what that woman is experiencing. Right. And I think that in the US, in my experience, it's so much more subtle. And, like even my husband, when I talk about things I've experienced, he believes me and he understands, but there are times where he's like, I don't really think it's a gender thing, right? And I'm like,
yeah.
I think it is though, right? Like, and it's some of that is, it's so subtle and it's so hard to put words to the experiences that we have. But one of the things I've shared with him was, I was on a leadership team where I was the only woman for a few years, and then there was another woman that came in, whatever. But like for many of the years, I was the only woman in the room, and there were times where I felt very shut down, like I wasn't allowed to talk about certain things. Or to I don't know, like, again, it's hard to explain. It's a feeling that you get in that room where you want to say like, hey, this is going on, or this is, whatever. And I would often get kind of hushed and like, like, no, like, don't talk about that. Nobody would say don't talk about that, but it was like the way that things would happen, right? And so then I would explain that to my husband, and he wouldn't, like, that's the kind of thing he'd be like, I don't know if it's a gender thing, and I'm like, maybe not, but someone else is allowed to bring up issues. Someone else is allowed to speak their mind on things. And it's like, it's just so subtle. It's hard to even like point a finger at, or to tell somebody, like to tell a man in that setting, like, hey, you're doing this to me because I'm a woman. Like, so I don't know. It's hard. Like, so
yeah, gaslighting is normal, unfortunately, especially for women.
Yes, gaslighting. That I had this like epiphany over a situation at work. I'm no longer I no longer work for people. I work for myself now, but but I had 20 years of working for other people and being gaslit many, many times. And I had this like moment where I realized that's what was going on for me, and again, that's something that some people would go, that's not really what's happening, but you're like, I'm telling you, that is what I'm experiencing. anyway, it's hard to explain to people who haven't experienced it or who don't, don't believe it. But anyway, so all of that to say, like, I totally understand that part of your message. And I think, you talk about that visibility and confidence. One of the things for me, like one of the things I specialize in is personal branding, thought leadership, building that thought leadership platform. That's what I help people do. But I always did that for my bosses. I did that for other people. And when I started my company, it was like,
Hard.
I had to start being that. You said you don't always have to get on stages, but like for me, it was like, I kind of do, right? Like I have to get out there and I have to start establishing this platform for myself. And that was the hardest shift for me because it's easier to elevate somebody else. It's hard to put yourself in that spotlight and talk about yourself and what you're doing in your business. And I think in my personal life, I had a lot of people going like, wow, like what does she do? Like they were shocked to see the success of my business. And yet they didn't understand I had been doing that for 20 years in my career. I had been doing it for other people.
Yeah.
But why are these things so hard for us as women to put ourselves not on a pedestal, but put ourselves in that spotlight and to have that confidence in ourselves?
Yeah, I mean, it's also our upbringing, how we're brought up, right? Like me, I was brought up in a very conservative Asian culture. So, as a woman, I was just supposed to go to school, get a job, get married, and never rock the boat. I went to school, but I never got married. So, that means I'm like totally out of the life plan of every Asian person that was set by their parents, grandparents, and so on. And we've always been taught to stay in the background, never make any noise, don't brag, don't do this, don't do that. There's so many like don'ts to the point where it's like, what can you do, right? And it had to take a lot of unlearning on my end to also realize I need to show up not just for myself, but for everybody else. And that's why I have a whole chapter on self-promotion, because I understand how uncomfortable it is. I mean, and it's not like I'm comfortable with it. I'm still very uncomfortable with it.
Yeah, it's always uncomfortable. Yeah.
But I also realize it is needed. It's a much needed topic to talk about, especially for women, right? Especially when you're on your own, when you're working for yourself. Who's going to be the biggest advocate for your business? You. You have to learn to put yourself out there, to show people your value, to show them what you can achieve, the impact that you will create, the results that you will create for your clients. And yes, it's very scary. When I put my first blog post ever in my entire life, I shared it on Facebook. And on Facebook you can control a lot of things, right? So you can control who sees it. So I went from public to just myself. So, because I was so scared. I was like, oh my goodness, I don't know if I'm ready yet. I'll just do it for myself. But sometimes you just need to take those baby steps, right? And if we don't go out there and promote ourselves, who we're doing a disservice to? Ourselves, right? And I just watched this very short video clip of another woman who was talking about self-promotion, right? And I love her analogy, because I was like, she's right. If you don't go out there and promote yourself, put yourself out there, not only are you doing a disservice for yourself, but you're letting another mediocre person get that opportunity. Mm-hmm. And so that's like, oh my goodness. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Because we have so much value, but because we resist, because we think we're not good enough, there's someone better out there, then we just don't do it. And most women's, the reason why they have low self-confidence is because of inaction. So it is important to take action. One of the things I share too is a strategy of ready, fire, aim. So not ready, aim, fire, ready, fire, aim. You start before you're ready, you take action, and you course correct as you go. Because that's what men do. If you ask a man what he does, he'll say, I don't know, but he'll just do it, right? Yep. He'll just do it. He'll figure it out. He'll make mistakes. He'll get rejected 1,000 times, and it wouldn't even faze him. And I get it, because they've been taught to do that all their life. Women weren't taught to do that, right? There was a report that mentioned that girls as young as 6 years old already start having confidence issues. Isn't that wild to hear that?
Oh yeah, no, yeah, I believe it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I wish they taught this stuff in school. Like, yes, math and science is important, but self-love, self-confidence, resilience, learning to embrace failures, those are so important in the real world, right? Especially with the rise of AI. these are the type of skills that's needed now more than ever in 2025 and beyond. Being resilient, leadership, the the things that were once called soft skills, right? Now that's the hard skill that we're gonna have to learn, and because AI is gonna, make things a lot easier in a technical aspect, right? And there's, and and I know sometimes as women we fear it, but we should embrace it, right? Because it's here to stay. We're gonna have to live with it, whether we like it or not. But imagine what we can achieve as well. When something new happens, it's scary. It's like we don't know much about it. But the internet was the same thing when we first started. We didn't know anything about it. It was scary. But like, look what it's achieved, right? Like
Right.
worldwide, you can create worldwide visibility with a touch of, just by pressing like post or
Publishing that blog post and not
yeah,
making it private.
yeah, or having a podcast and people from all over
Yeah.
the world
Yeah.
listen to it. Like last week, I was at a conference talking to people in the C++ community about confidence, and a man from Belgium traveled to Toronto for that event. And it was so funny because after that, he came up to me and he's like, "My wife is a big fan of your podcast," and I'm like, "Really? Like from Belgium?" That's like very
Yeah.
random. And I was like, "Oh, that's awesome. Tell your wife thank you," right? Like you just
Yeah.
never know who you could reach with
Yeah.
the power of technology.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So the imposter syndrome thing, like I went to a conference, oh my goodness, like maybe 3 years ago. And it was a marketing conference, and there, so I'm signing up for these sessions because here I am 20 years into my career and thinking like, oh, I can't wait to learn from this person or that, learn about this topic. And I sat there in session after session going, I could have taught that. Like, oh, I could have said more about this, or like I had these feelings of like these people were getting up and like I'm like they don't even really know what they're talking about. They're giving this overview, but they don't really know how to do it. And I remember after some of the sessions, I was in the hall and a couple of the speakers, I had met one of them, and so I was talking with them, and one of the speakers was telling me about this brilliant genius content engine she had created for her, blah blah blah. She was talking about it, and I'm like, yeah, my team does that. It was that moment that I was like, I should be teaching. Like I should be using my 20 years of experience and teaching people these things because I know what I'm doing. But it was like it took that moment for me to realize that like the people on stages didn't have more experience doing any of it than I had. I know what I'm doing. I had built a marketing team. I can talk about these topics. Anyways, but the 6-year-old in me who's fearful of getting up in front of people had to really I had to really work through that. Like I have a hard time getting on stage. I have a hard time putting myself in the spotlight. And so I had to work on that, but all of that led me to being able to start my business and to build a firm foundation in my business where it's like I'm going out now and speaking and teaching people things and bringing in clients from that, right? But it's so much easier to like do that for somebody else and not do that for ourselves. But I had worked for men in my career, and now it was like, now it's time to be the boss and to be the person who is, making the decisions but it's a hard shift for us to make and to, to be confident in our own skills and abilities, and it's not just like having the confidence, but it's like taking that action. Like you just said, just go for it. Like you have to just start doing those things. Starting this podcast was another example. I'm almost, I have a year's worth of episodes recorded. I'm about 7-8 months into my podcast, but, it was weird saying like, I'm going to host this podcast and I'm going to be this person, talking with women about their books. And yet like I've met so many amazing women like you who have great messages to share and are, have these books that they're helping other women through their message. And, but yeah, it's so hard to get out of the mindset of like, I just do things behind the scenes and to put yourself in that spotlight. So in your career, Sheena, surely you've had those experiences of being, I don't know, dealing with that gender gap or gender, what do you call it? Like inequality in the workplace and having those experiences. So what gave you the confidence to write the book and to start like getting that message out there?
You know, it's so funny. The first book I wrote, I actually almost said no because of my own imposter syndrome, right?
Yeah.
So here I am talking about confidence, and I was like so scared to write my first book because, first of all, they're like, "Oh, we want you to write a book about leadership," and I'm like, "What? I don't even know what that looks like. I don't even know if I'm the poster child for leadership." I was like I really was like, I don't know if I'm that person, right? Like I was just um, doing the podcast, interviewing women on their journey to self confidence. And yeah, when I was approached with it, I almost said no. I'm grateful that I have a support system that said go for it. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I have to do this even if I don't know what I'm going to do, because here I am complaining about visibility, representation, and then I'm saying no. It makes me a huge hypocrite, right? Like I can talk about confidence all day, but walking it, like there's a difference with talking about it and doing it, right? And so
Yeah.
yeah, I said yes. I figured it out, and then now I have a second book. And so yeah, I still go through a lot of imposter syndrome. Even when I speak on stages, sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't even know why they picked me to speak. Like, I don't even know if I'm that great of a speaker. And then I go on stage, and everybody is like, thank you so much. You were so great. That really helped me out. It was a wonderful talk. It made me think about different things in my life that, just the shift, right? Like when you see their eyes shift, like, you did something right.
Yeah.
So I go through it all the time still, even till today. So it's
Yeah.
normal. It's normal. And I think sometimes we have to see that imposter syndrome isn't always something negative. It can be something positive because it's a sign that you just need to take it to the next level. And taking it to the next level is uncomfortable. So, yes, we're going to go through all these thoughts in our heads. But we have to realize, like, hey, this is just a sign that we're meant to do something bigger. Let's just do it. Do it scared, do it messy. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, yeah. So you mentioned the ready, fire,
Fire aim.
aim, I
Yeah.
think, right?
Yep.
What are some of the other ways that women can gain confidence? I mean,
Yeah.
I talked about my experiences of like just getting out there, right? But like, how do I think I just have this natural draw to do some of that, but like,
Yeah.
how do you encourage women to push themselves to do things that are uncomfortable?
So one of the things that I spoke about last week at the conference was creating brave spaces. So we all create a lot of safe spaces, right? But guess what happens when we play safe? Nothing happens. Not that I'm saying we don't create safe spaces. Yes, it's essential where women can just share what they're feeling, what they're going through, and we just have space for them. But at the same time, we should also create brave spaces where we can help each other out, take those actions, right? Because a lot of women think we have to do everything ourselves, right? We've been programmed to be like the superwoman of everything, and that gets exhausting. Like, it's too much, right? Men don't do that. Men like outsource everything. So, one sec. Sorry, my phone went off.
That's okay.
So I think creating brave spaces is great, where you just have a group of it could be a group of two. It doesn't have to be like anything big. It could just be a group of two people just helping each other out, holding them accountable to take those actions to get to their destination.
Hmm.
So I think it's great because, there's a saying that fortune favors the brave. And that's so true, right? When we go out there, we put ourselves out there, we make mistakes, we fall down, we get back up. I mean, that's all bravery, and it takes a lot of courage and confidence to do that. So I think creating those brave spaces is something that we need in 2025 and beyond.
So what's the other side of that? Like I think of this like, so what if you're a woman who's just like, I'm not going to push myself. I just want to stay in the background and like
I
talk
mean,
about like what's the result of that?
you can't force everybody, right? Like people have to want it just as bad. If they don't want it just as bad, I'm not going to push somebody who doesn't want it, who just wants to be in the background. But if it's like killing them on the inside, they want that change. So, I can't please everybody. I think this is something we need to especially as women. We can't please everybody. Unfortunately, we can't
Yeah.
help everybody, but we can help the people who want it, who really want this drive, this need for change, and they feel like they need someone to help them with it. So, yeah. So unfortunately, like we can't help everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's true, though. That is something that, I've just thought about that with clients. Like, eventually, like, I'm going to have clients who, like, it's not going to work out. I'm not going to, make everyone happy or have I mean, of course I want to have great results for everyone, but like, there's only so much I can control, right? So if I'm working to get somebody on stage and they have a terrible stage presence, like I may not be able to do much for them, right? But that's hard for us because we want to succeed in everything we do. We want to make everyone happy, but like eventually we're going to deal with things that, and I think that men can like brush some of that off their shoulders like a lot easier than we can.
Yeah.
At least for me, that's something that, I worry about. And it's like, you have to be able to let things go somewhat.
Yeah, I'm the same. I come from a people-pleasing culture, so I totally get it. It took a lot of unlearning to realize I can't please everybody. I'm going to focus on the people who want change, because the people who want change, they're going to take the info that you tell them and run with it. And there's people that will take your info and not run with it and then blame you for it,
Right.
So it's just and that's just normal. That's normal life. It's just people don't talk about this, right? They think everyone's a perfect customer. Sometimes no, sometimes you might have to fire a client, right? And that's the beauty of having a business. You want to work with the people who are hungry for change and are willing to take action. And even sometimes in when you're promoting your products and services, you might even have to say that so that you attract the right people, right? Like, this isn't like a get rich quick scheme. This is for people who want change. It might take some time. You're going to go through some stuff, but it will help you, and like you will get to the other side. So, yeah. Yeah,
that's great. Well, so Sheena, we'll link to the book in the show notes. So you've got Bridging the Confidence Gap. You also have the Tao of Self-Confidence. And what other ways can viewers or listeners learn more about you and connect with you online?
Yeah, for sure. People can connect with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. It's Sheena Yap Chan. You can check out my website, SheenaYapChan.com, where I have a free self-confidence personality quiz that you can take. Yes, I also have the books available on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, Indigo, and other major book retailers worldwide. I also have the podcast, The Tao of Self-Confidence, on all major podcast platforms like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. But if any of you forgot anything that I mentioned, just Google my name, Sheena Yap Chan, because I'm literally the only Sheena Yap Chan on the internet.
Well, surprisingly, I am not the only Kelly Schuknecht on the internet. Like, you would think that name would also be pretty unique, but there's a few of us. So anyway, well, thank you, Sheena. Thanks for coming on and sharing your story and your book with us. I encourage women who, if they are feeling that draw to do something more, that they check out your book. I think it'll be really helpful.
Thank you.
Looking for a community of women writers to support and inspire you on your journey? Join the Author Power Circle. Connect weekly with fellow authors, stay accountable, and move your book forward in an encouraging community. Learn more at kellyschuknecht.com.